Yo, what is going on, you guys? It is your boy Icepop here, bringing you the last of the Destiny 2 beta subclass videos. Where in this video I'll be talking about the Striker, Gunslinger, and Voidwalker. Originally I wanted to do all three of these videos individually, however they are very similar to what they were before. Different for sure, but similar in a way. And because of that I figured I could cover all three of them into one video. Now, starting with the Striker subclass, it seemed a lot better in the fact that the radius of the slam, as you've probably been told by other YouTubers, definitely felt a lot smaller than it used to be. And I think that's totally fine by how they changed Striker, because now there's multiple slams. There's the homing type move shoulder charge now, which is very effective, and I thought that was the best to use for Crucible. And that was basically it, as well as I want to say a little bit of a damage buff because it was a lingering super, where you did have a little bit of armor for just the duration of the slam animation in Destiny 1, where I feel as though the armor buff is a lot more noticeable now because you're running around and you do run around faster as the Striker, which is very helpful, so you can either run away from people or catch up to people. And I really like that aspect and that change. And again, I do like the multiple slams. For PvE, I thought that was very useful, especially in the strike we were able to play. There was those new like Cabal dogs almost, and those got really hectic all around you, so when you were to slam, they would all die and they would be decimated. Kind of sad, save the dogs, but those weren't quite dogs, they're Cabal, so it's different. But in that situation, with multiple enemies, maybe if there will be Thrall eventually, it'll be good to eliminate a swarm of them as well. And I didn't think the slam was very good for individual people, and it seemed as though it took up a little bit larger of a chunk of your super than the shoulder charge animation. So if you're only going for one person, I think the shoulder charge type ability would be better in situations such as that. However, the slam is still very good and very viable, does have a great range, and it has great height, and overall I enjoyed it. The jumps, again, are the same as I discussed in my Sentinel video. They've been the same since Destiny 1, except like Catapult shoots you up higher, you can't Titanscape, stuff like that. So a little bit different, but generally the same, though the grenades felt a bit different. So the lightning grenade, I felt like the radius of the blast was a bit smaller, so if you'd be far away from the grenade, like to the side, it wouldn't really affect you or attach as much as it felt like in Destiny 1, where the range seemed either about the same or maybe a little bit longer, but you had to be like directly in front of it for it to really affect you. And the damage was there, however, in this map it felt very open, so I didn't use it that much, where I like the flashbang grenade because that stunned enemies, and it stunned them pretty well. It made their screen very white, their HUD was gone, and I thought it was very useful because I've had that even used against me. But my favorite was actually the pulse grenade, and I didn't really use that too much in Destiny 1. Where in Destiny 2, it pulses a lot more, especially with the skill tree that we had unlocked for extended grenade duration. So that was very nice, and it was really good for PvE because it did damage instantly, and it also lasted longer because of that skill tree perk. And so because of that, I thought it was very viable. And the subclass overall seems like a big improvement from what it was in Destiny 1. And now for the Gunslinger, it felt a lot different yet the same at the same time. So starting with grenades, the Storm Grenade did decent damage to one target in PvE. Multiple people, it trickled their health down a little bit, but not a ton for it to be very viable. The Trip Mine Grenade felt like it should. For example, it's a trip mine almost like what was used in Call of Duty, where you'd plant it and you'd have someone walk over it in an area, where I feel like a lot of people in Destiny 1 like to use the trip mine kind of proactive, like, oh, there's someone shooting me at a wall, let me just throw this grenade behind them. I think there's a bigger delay in Destiny 2 from when you throw it, there's a little animation, then it triggers, there's an audio cue, then it explodes, all in a matter of like 2 seconds, which is very avoidable if you're cautious and you're paying attention. And the damage is definitely there. However, I don't think that grenade is going to be able to be used in that way anymore in Destiny. It feels like if someone's chasing you, you can like throw it at a wall and keep running. They'll either see that, get hit by it, and you might have an upper hand because they're more damaged, or they'll see your grenade and back off because they know it's very powerful. And then for the incendiary grenade, I want to say that was about as good as it was in Destiny 1, except maybe a bit more damage from the initial explosion. And I like that a lot in PvE and PvP, because if you're accurate at throwing it, it had a very good damage output, especially with the burning effect to keep your enemy shields from regenerating. And because of that, it was my favorite and I really liked it. However, the Trip Mine did do a ton of damage in PvE, but you had to be very accurate at throwing it like right at their feet, because the damage and like the radius of where it activates the explosion is very small now. So you have to be like directly in front of it for it to activate, instead of pretty close to being in front of it, where I felt like that's how it was in Destiny 1. So it seems like they did a lot of reworking on that grenade, and I think that's okay. You just have to use it differently now, which some people may not like. I think it's fine. I also think it'd be okay if they changed it back. Not really too biased either way on that. And then for the super, that is what is obviously for all of these builds the most different thing. And I used it in Crucible. I felt like I had to play the Gunslinger a lot different than I did in Destiny 1. For example, the duration seemed a lot longer in Destiny 1. So if you saw some red on your radar, you could pop it, kind of take a peek, then pretty consistently get your shots off wherever they needed to land. Whereas in Destiny 2, it seems as though you are more rushed. I don't know if it's just the build, because as with every other subclass, we only had access to one section of the build, one of the two, where this one we had 6 shots, where I'm not sure if that makes the duration of Golden Gun shorter, so the other one would be longer, but the duration of the one we had access to felt very, very short. PvE, it felt fine because you kind of activate it in the moment, where in Crucible, you don't really have a damage buff, at least that I noticed, so you were pretty vulnerable. So if you missed your shots, you do have a lot of time to shoot, and it does have like a rapid fire mode, but you want to save those shots for other people. You don't want to be just like firing it like the last word. So when you're trying to space it and aim, it kind of takes time, and that also gives time to the other player. And I had a few chokes because I really wanted to get this footage out, and I just made a bunch of noob moves, which wasn't the best. And I feel as though that won't only be me, it'll be other players as well. So Golden Gun seems a lot more rushed, and the range is a lot shorter, as you'll see in PvE gameplay. In PvP, range wasn't much of an issue that I saw, but in PvE, you're definitely not going to be able to one-shot mid-tier enemies from far away, at least with this 6-shot build. So this reimagined Golden Gun subclass is very fun and enjoyable, but will take some time to get used to. Now last but least, we have the Voidwalker. And I think this is the coolest reimagined Destiny 1 subclass. Although I think the Striker is super cool because when they activate their super, they're just engulfed in electricity. The Nova Bomb seems like it's the only one and done super in Destiny, unless there will be new ones that we just haven't seen yet. But it just is so powerful. It's not only just one Nova Bomb explosion, it almost has like Axion Bolt type projectiles that emerge afterwards. So it almost reminds me of like a Gallahorn thing. There's the initial impact, and then there's the fireworks. Very cool, very colorful. I always loved that void look. Very dark and shadowy, and I really like that. And the grenades in the Voidwalker looked very cool in my opinion, because in the Destiny lore, Warlocks are very magic based. And it didn't really seem like it that much in Destiny 1, because a lot of their grenades seemed like a Hunter or a Titan grenade. And in Destiny 2, they definitely seem more magic based, like the Scatter grenade, I believe that's the one. It kind of exploded and kind of had like Hunter, Tracker, grenade shells. Or in Destiny 2, it's just these like dark spheres that just go flying in a general area. It looks super cool and dark to me. I especially like the move that Voidwalkers now have, is they can charge up their grenade to make it more powerful by sacrificing just a tiny bit of their super bar. And I use that a lot in the Crucible, because I don't know if this will be in the final game, it probably won't, but in the beta, it felt like it didn't require as much super energy as I think it needs to. I definitely don't think it's overpowered, and I hope Bungie doesn't change it. But how much more power your grenade has by sacrificing a tiny bit of super energy, I think is completely worth it. Because grenades are not bad at all on the Voidwalker, but they're just so much better when you charge it, even just a little bit. And the animation is so cool. I'm a huge fan of, you just gather this dark sphere in your hand and you just throw it. I think it's cool. You'll see some of that in the montage section towards the end of this video. Very cool. I was a huge fan of that. And speaking of the grenades, Vortex seemed like it did good damage. Nothing too overpowered, but nothing underwhelming. The Axiom Bolt grenade, that was my Crucible go-to, because it's a really lazy grenade. If anyone's nearby, the grenade will do the work for you. And it's still very good, very potent. I played against one, and it seemed like you can shoot the Axiom Bolts to destroy them. Maybe I just shot it and its distance ran out, so it just exploded and I was just happened to be shooting at it. I'm not sure. Hopefully you can shoot it and destroy it. That would kind of make it more balanced. But it was definitely very viable. I got the bloom effect to proc. I even killed another person on the flag, again, as you'll see in the montage section at the end of the video. And that was just a segment for the Crucible. In PvE, I was a huge fan of the scatter grenade because, again, it was very magic looking based, and for Warlocks, I think it's super cool and I liked it. And the jumps, the focus burst, or it's not called focus burst, but it basically is. I thought that was very good. I didn't use the balance control one, but I definitely got to use the blink one a lot. Now, it's the same as Destiny 1 where they changed it where your HUD kind of disappears for a while. There's a little cooldown on the ability. And on that jump ability cooldown, it seemed like you could do 2 blinks almost on one charge. Maybe wait a couple more seconds for that charge cooldown to finish up so you could use another blink. They just want that so people aren't blinking all around. But it seemed very viable, at least when I played in my games of Crucible on the Voidwalker and the beta. I was able to get out of gunfights and make a good spacing to avoid the enemies, and they weren't able to shoot me because I disappeared and then I reappeared somewhere else. Obviously that's how Blink works, and it seemed very efficient and effective in Destiny 2, at least so far in the beta. And I enjoyed it. The melee seemed really cool, the Rift ability is still good. Overall, I really enjoyed the Voidwalker, and it was a lot of fun, and I even like the explosions afterwards, as I kind of mentioned earlier, the little tracky things. I don't quite know how that works too well, but it seems to track, and it does seem to do quite a bit of damage, especially with the bloom effect. And it seems very efficient because I totally missed the Guardian in one Nova Bomb throw, but the little tracker things kind of finished him off. And that kind of made me feel a little bit better that I wasn't such a scrub and I missed. Which is hard to miss. I think I blew it up early because you could shoot it to detonate it earlier. Which can be useful if you time it right, whereas I kind of didn't know how to do that because I didn't have much time with the Voidwalker. But overall it was very fun, very enjoyable, and I think I'll be using that a lot in Destiny 2. Now that about brings me to the end of the video. There's going to be a montage section using abilities and supers when I'm done talking here, as well as all of the skill trees for these 3 subclasses at the end of the montage. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in another video.
Double kill. For what?